You people get upset when you realize there's no authority in art but yourself. And even then, you're not to be trusted. Even then, you're to be trusted. She said, I left you a note to read in the morning. I asked, what kind of note? A poem? She laughed. She said, imagine. That's the one. It's just short. It's a very short one.
I like it. There's a couple lines in there. You're not to be trusted, even though you're to be trusted. In analyzing art and whatnot, and it's like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You can't. You're not to be trusted, but who the hell's? What else is there?
Exactly. And there's no authority. There's no authority in art, which is an interesting. I mean, it's like the ultimate anti-authoritarian stance. It's no authority. It's all emergence. You know what? I wrote this poem after reading a lot of Bukowski. So to me, this is my Bukowski poem. Very kind of direct.
Yeah, especially the last one. She said, I left you a note. I read it in the morning. I asked, what kind of note? A poem? She laughed and said, imagine? Like, I see that scene like after she wakes up and she's leaving the room. It's like, imagine if I left you a poem? What are you talking about, you dipshit?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of time scale there of like, wait a minute, like what kind of situation is it where somebody leaves a poem for somebody in the morning? Like, did you sleep with this person and then you left them a poem? Like you just like left? Like
That's like notes by the toilet.
Yeah, right by the toilet. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's an older poem of mine, but one that yeah, you know what? It has values that I think are like that I think people should know about. Specifically not having any authority in poetry. I think that's pretty important because some people feel like they can't access poetry because they don't have the authority to access poetry. But like once you realize like you are the authority, it's a very kind of empowering thing.
Is it possible that that poetry is the thing that doesn't need access?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, most people just.
I mean, I know I've read a lot of books, and I know there's a I don't know there's standards,
yeah,
and things for sure. I'm not trying to downplay it in that way, but I don't know. There might be something different, something lost that is just able to be found when prose is constructed in an abstract way. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
I understand the rules, and I dig them. I'm with it, but on the same note, it's like, man, I just feel like it's a place where a lot of people can express a lot of different emotions, and like as humanity, we should be wanting to encourage people to express those emotions because it's only good, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this line. It's something. Poetry is expressing the original mind, or something like that. And it kind of, me and Brett were talking just a little bit in the messenger, like the day after the last open mic, and reading stuff or doing this word is still the same as writing, but there's something more primitive mind of it, like just going back to the start, the dawn of the languages of Iris from outer space, when our ape talking ape chimp ancestors started doing it. They will go around the fire, and then just one brave soul will just go up there and say something crazy. And everybody just like looking like, what is this guy talking about? And then he just started, it seems like we're playing with these sounds to mean more than just the mere words, because we know there's so much depth to everything, that sometimes, and that's why I think I like Brett's breaks in his poetry. It, like, or just different things that he does when I visually see it, that does more than just writing. And I think what I do is just kind of like, oh, I need to like get things out there, and it's just like, whoop.
I know what you mean. Yeah, those Brett's breaks are super intentional. And then you imbue the intentionality into the breaks, and you imagine all that energy is loaded into the negative space, which, I mean, you ever hear musicians say that, like, oh, music is shaping silence?
Yeah.
I feel like, that's what Brett is doing with the breaks between stanzas and lines.
Just a lot. Add in, learned this week that sounds actually carry matter. So you're actually legitimately shaping the world around you with sounds. That's like some quantum discovery that was made recently, I think.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to this original thing, that this expression just before language. And it's even kind of funny that the creation story, or the Western creation story, is it began with the word. But that's that energy that we're trying to push out to people, and I think that's what's so interesting about it. Why we keep playing with these words, because one day it means something to you, and then you read it another day, it's something different, and then there's another thread that you could pull on, and you could see what's happening underneath the hood of perception. What's going on over there? But also too, the other flip side is when you get really nitty gritty, like what Muse with Scissors was doing with her being really vivid. You notice that vividness is also an allegory for your own swirls of emotions inside you. That that sting. Not only was it like this physical sting that I felt when I saw that turn when it hit, but it was also like, oh, that's kind of like the sting of life. Like I'm a cook, so in the kitchen, I got a good burn. That's when I know I'm alive. Like, oh, that hurts. Oh, I'm alive. I'm good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. One time I burned myself in the kitchen. We had these oven doors the oven was kept at 425 degrees. So the metal doors were also 425 degrees. And my boss opened the door, and you're supposed to say, hey, door's open. She didn't say it. And I banged right into it, and I got this scar on my forearm. And she was embarrassed. And I was like, yeah, that's right. You fucked up this time. It wasn't me. And I loved that scar that I had. I felt like a man.
That's funny.
Yeah. I picked at it. Made sure that scar would keep.
Yeah, and sometimes these poems are like the scars on our souls.
Serious,
Yeah.
that we pick at. Something shitty happens to us, and as a poet, you're just picking at that emotional scar. You keep it alive, but it ends up being meaningful to you, and that's what we really need. we need meeting.
Absolutely. I really liked what I3 said earlier about when you first read it and it's your that raw emotion that you have when you're really experiencing it for the first time. I wrote a poem last night, and I wrote it all, and I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and I was just fully engrossed in what it meant to me and everything, and I gave it an out loud read, and it was incredible. I was brought to life. Like I had goosebumps, and I was full of air. My voice was super loud, and it was incredible. And it was just, I was like, wow, there's meaning in this. And boy, listening to all of you tonight has really inspired me to actually develop this poem a little bit more. Not that I need to rewrite it or anything, but I've learned a few things here tonight. I think he left how he just structured his poem, and there's a lot of definite structure and that it needs when I write it down, because I haven't written it here yet, so I didn't post it, so I'm not, I wasn't planning on reading it. So yeah, it's just, meaning is really wonderful. I love coming to these little poetry things. Thanks, Mac.
Yeah, no problem, man. I think, man, that gave me goosebumps, because that happens to me. And the the shitty thing is like, you read it at night by yourself, and it's like, oh man, I'm accessing a different part of myself that is just divine. And then you bring it to open mic, and and then it's just not there. And I get frustrated. I don't know if you do, but I definitely get frustrated about that. Maybe it's because you find you make it into a commodity of, like, say, oh, I'll just repeat it. I'll just say it like this. I'll say it like that. But then you see, when you actually read it live, you can't access that because your heart's not in it in a way. I was feeling like that when I read the poem at first. Like, first, right off the bat, I was like, okay, I'll try to really do it. I just knew I couldn't. I really could not. So I just went for it and, failed or whatever. But that's fine. Poetry is failure. And sometimes the best performances are by yourself, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there are some stars that are able to just, maybe they can do it on stage even better than they could do it by themselves. And that is, like, imagine that. If, like, just the activization, that you're so activized, or that's not even a word. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're on stage,
Yeah,
and
sure.
it just sparked, and you're there. That's what I crave. That's what I wish I could have.
That's a whole other kind of like the performance art form,
Yeah, but I mean, I think the most that we can settle for is that you face the moment headstrong, even if it's lackluster, that you still face it and you learn something from it.
I think you could get there too. Even as clumsy as this open mic was, there was portions. It was so funny that I'll get excited, and then I had to, like, wait. Oh, I can't hear anybody anymore, and then, like, oh, let me. I needed to get back in the room. I
I mean, and I think, honestly, like, and that only happens. See, I'm thinking about this because maybe there'd be a way to do it better, and we're all trying to do this together. And there's always new people coming in, and we're all kind of figuring it out and finagling with equipment and everything. And those awkward moments always come when you don't want it to be awkward, when you want it to be something else. That is that, like,
you just
train, that drive.
Gotta go.
But here
with
we
it.
are. This is like late at night. I don't want it to be one thing or the other, but I feel like I'm actually talking in a natural way. And maybe we'll bring some of this later in the clips. Like, who knows? I feel like there was a lot of gold later in the night. I know the part of me that died was the part of me that said, oh, maybe somebody will happen on the live stream and find it worthwhile. No, bitch, they're going to go through 45 minutes of crap, of, like, awkward ass crap. And, like, we know that something actually cool happened later on. Like, once we realized it was crap, and then we settled into it, and we could actually have it be good.